Hey there, listeners. Thanks for stopping by to the podcast today. Please, before you're done listening to this episode, leave us a review. If you're on Spotify, you can review now, and you can also review on Apple Podcasts. But if there's any platforms that I'm forgetting about and you can leave us a review, please do so. If you're happening to watch us on YouTube, and if you don't know, you can watch these podcasts on YouTube now, please like and subscribe to the channel and share the episode as well. So thanks for stopping by, everybody, and enjoy the episode.
Knowledge is Power is where you come to hear people's life experiences to learn from. So, without further ado, let's roll the intro.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I have a dream. Will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Hello, and welcome back to the Knowledge is Power podcast. This is your host, Max Willett, and today we're going to be on we're going to probably be starting a reoccurring sort of trend here. I have some other baseball-esque podcasts planned in the future because it's the greatest sport in the face of the planet, and I love baseball. Yeah, so I got a great guest on today. So if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, that would be great.
What's up, guys? I'm Dan Sarmiento. I am 20 years old and I live in Los Angeles, California, but I'm from Exeter, New Hampshire, which I don't know. Is your audience mostly New England or is it all over?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the analytics, I got listeners in India, but
lit. Yeah. Well, shout out Exeter, shout out New England. I'm a big New England guy. I'm, born and raised there. So it's a good spot. But yeah, now I live in Los Angeles and I'm a full-time content creator, I guess you'd call it, in baseball. And I travel and do interviews and podcasts and go to baseball games and make YouTube videos. It's fun.
Yeah, that would be a pretty cool gig to have. I'm just gonna keep saying it. Love baseball, love what you do. I think I had seen maybe a couple of your videos beforehand, but the most recent one that I remember seeing was your tour of Yukon.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there over the summer. It's an amazing facility. So you want to just go into a little bit of detail of sort of we'll start with your backstory, sort of how you got to Los Angeles. And by the way, for everybody listening, this is the first person I'm having on the podcast that's younger than me, which is really funny. Yeah.
Shout out me.
Yeah. I'm 21. Dan said he's 20. So it's just kind of cool to do that. So let's hear your story, sort of how you got from New Hampshire to Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good story. I guess it may be kind of boring for some people. So like I said, I'm from Exeter, New Hampshire. I went to Exeter High School, and then I did a post-grad year for baseball. So I played baseball through my life, and for recruiting purposes, just get another year because of COVID and stuff. I went to Bridgeton Academy, which is in Maine. It's like an all sports school, all guys, and it was just for more recruiting purposes and just a reclass to a 2022 graduate from like high school, and then get recruited there. So I shifted my focus to like Southern California. Is where I wanted to be. I knew because entertainment capital of the world obviously is really cool and I love making content, but the weather was big. I just kind of wanted to get out of home for a bit and live on my own. And I was kind of ready for that, I guess. So I shifted my focus there. Luckily, I got looks from a school called the Azusa Pacific University, which is a mid-tier, middle size, but a pretty elite D2 program out here. So like I just got looks because I was a lefty and I didn't throw very hard, but I had off speed, whatever. And I was interested in them. So they were interested in me. Then over the summer, so I committed there. And then over the summer, my content started taking off a little bit. And I was like, man, this is just what I want to do full time. Like I treat it like time wise, I'm spending, as if it's a full-time job. So I might as well just make it a full-time, whatever job. I don't know if you could call it a job, but full-time, whatever. And I decided not to play baseball. I went to Azusa for like the first month and a half, but then I was like, I hate this. Like this, I don't like school. This sucks. So now I just do online school at LA Film School, which is just like easy. And it's to keep me I keep a foot in school, but really now I spend my time kind of traveling, making videos, doing facility tours was what I started doing. And yeah, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that. So yeah.
Cool. So like a lot of people, I feel like baseball sort of just gets introduced into their lives. And then eventually as they grow, it becomes, a huge facet that you use just because it's just a great sport, right? So do you remember like when your passion for the sport began? Like, is there something that you can point to and say that's when it really started?
Yeah, something funny I remember is I always loved baseball. I was probably better at basketball when I was like younger. Like I played football, baseball, basketball, like those are my sports. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I was 12, I hit like a growth spurt and I started to be pretty good at baseball compared to like my peers or whatever. And I was like hitting home runs and it was fun, but I didn't make the all-star team, our town's all-star team. I was like the last, whatever, the one that just made it. So I was on like the B team or whatever. I remember I was so pissed and like, I felt like I got cheated. I felt like I deserved to be on it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that was a big learning experience where I was like, like just because you think you deserve something doesn't mean you're going to get it. And, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really work very hard at baseball. I was just naturally like bigger than everyone else at that time. So like I was good. So that kind of lit like a little fire in my 12-year-old self to like start training and start taking stuff seriously and, prove to whoever that I was, better than, good and worth it to make the team and stuff. So that's when like baseball started to become more like not more competitive within myself. Like I was more just like, I need to get better and I want to be better than my peers. And then that's when baseball coincidentally started becoming a little less fun. It was more just like, it's exciting to do well, but it's more just like a challenge that I'm excited to face. So yeah, I'd say like, but I've been playing baseball since I was like 4 years old. Like it's one of those things I've always done, but yeah, like 12,
Mm-hmm.
13 is when I started like ramping it up.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I joined a travel baseball team when I was like 13 years old, I think. And then I joined like a really good program out of Warwick, Rhode Island. Shout out Rhode Island Baseball Institute. I've had two people on that have coached there in the past, and one of the founders on the podcast. But as soon as I sort of got into that mindset, like I want to have a future in baseball, it was different. And I definitely think that hit me at like, high school, when I was a freshman in high school. I didn't make the middle school team at all. I tried out my 7th and 8th grade year, didn't make it, and it crushed me, but I wasn't going to let that, stop me. And there was, there's always kids that you dislike, always teammates that you dislike. And and my love for the sport was just so high that I wasn't going to let that bother me. You're absolutely right. Is like, you get to a certain point in the sport where you think, all right, if I want to have a future in this, it's not just for fun anymore. Like I actually have to work hard and dedicate a large portion of my life to this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, that kind of sparked my love for like, the social media game, getting more views, getting more subscribers. Oh, how does this title do versus this title and this type of video do compared to this video is competitive within myself. Like I want this next video to do well. What's a good idea to make this video pop? Like that, I think baseball is what really kind of triggered that. Like, okay, like I'm going to fail. Like that's just like inevitable. Baseball teaches you how to fail. So
absolutely,
whatever other task that I take on, like, yeah, I'm going to fail, but like, that's actually how you gain the most knowledge. So that's baseball. I mean, I owe everything to baseball.
Yeah, I had a mental training coach on, degree in psychology, really interesting guy. He's worked with world champions in kickboxing and karate on the podcast, and really interesting guy. And he agrees. He thinks baseball is the most mentally draining sport that exists. If you really think about it, I mean, you fail more than you succeed in baseball, especially when it comes to hitting. A really good player hits 300.
Yep.
And that's 3 out of 10 times. That's 30% of the time you get a hit. And then even like you get on base less than half the time, so it's really, really a mentally draining sport. And I think when it comes to life lessons, if you really want to get deep, baseball teaches you the most out of any other sport. I mean, imagine if a quarterback had a 30%, completion rating in the NFL over a season, it wouldn't exist, like he'd be gone,
Yeah.
But absolutely. Yeah. But so let's talk about, you mentioned how you grew a dislike for college and you wanted to really focus on your social media and YouTube career.
Yep.
So run me through that process. When did you start getting doubts? I mean, because you were playing baseball, right? And going to school. So what planted the seed for the doubt where you're like, I don't know if I want to continue doing this?
Once my season ended at Bridgeton, which was like, it was early, it was like a post-grad school. So we just played other prep schools and that season ends early. School was done like May 5th or something. And I didn't have to move to California until like August 20, whatever, 1st. So I
Mhm.
had a lot of time to like do that summer to like really figure out what my plan was. So I started that summer like training for baseball and like going hard and making videos and blah blah blah. And then eventually, just naturally, my time started shifting more to, hey, what's the plan for this video? Who's going to be on the podcast next? Hey, how many reels can I post this week? Editing way more, and I just was like, I don't really care to do a hybrid B throwing day today when I could be editing this TikTok and have a cool idea for a video. And then my elbow started like hurting a little bit, and I was like, screw this. Like, I just don't want to. I don't want to. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna figure it out once I get there. Like, I was planning on still playing baseball, but I kind of already knew I wasn't gonna. I was just going all in on content. So yeah, like it was never a hard decision for me to be like, oh man, gotta hang up the cleats. Like for me, I was kind of just like, nah, I'm just like, this is what I want to do anyway. So like, let's just like stop beating around the bush. It was hard for my
Mhm.
parents when I was like, hey, like I'm not gonna play baseball this year. Like they're like, oh, we bought all the t-shirts for Azusa and we're gonna go to the games and visit. And I'm like, I know that like sucks, that really does, but I gotta be a little selfish about this because it's like kind of my thing. Like I gotta do this. So they understood eventually once I just was like, look, this is just how it's going to be. And then like, they're like, all right, are you at least going to do school? And I'm like, yeah, maybe, sure, whatever. I told them, yeah, I moved out to California. I went to like 2 classes and I was like, this actually like accounting 101. Come on now. Like, I'm not that I'm like anti-education. I'm actually like, I love education. I'm constantly learning and trying to grow and be better at whatever facet of life I'm working on. But
Mhm.
in the school setting, it was a little too slow, a little too, I didn't like being around people who weren't as motivated as me. Like I didn't like it. It felt like I didn't belong. And it's just like, I just don't really, I'm more motivated to do the things that I want to do than, figure out this accounting principle or whatever. So I was just like, it's just, let me not waste anyone's money, anyone's time. Like I just found an apartment in a nearby city and I'm like, Mom, Dad, I'm just going to skirt over here real quick. And they're like, all right, well, will you stay in online school? And I'm like, yeah, fine, I'll stay in online school. So I'm in LA film school online, which is like, it's fine, it's easy, whatever. I just bang out the work in like 20 minutes and super fine. But yeah, like for me, man, I'm young, so like this opinion could change, but like I'm under the I don't know, opinion that you are going to learn a lot more from doing than hearing and then like memorizing, right? You're going to like I'm going to actually learn a lot more about building a business from building a business, not from learning how someone else built a business. Yeah, like that they can coincide and they can I can do both at the same time, but like I need to actually do the thing to learn how to do the thing, in my opinion. I know it's like a broad thing. For me, it's like I want to build a media company. I want to build a personal brand in social media. So I need to do that. I can't just like take notes on how other people did it. I need to do them simultaneously. So that's how I thought, made the most sense for me, just to like be all in. If I'm going to do something, let's do it something. Let's not just go half-ass. So
Yeah, very well said. I can definitely relate to that. I mean, yeah, it's like there's nothing better than being your own boss and making your own schedule and doing your own thing and not like I don't dread getting up in the morning and going to my office and getting stuff done. You know what I mean? Like I know a lot of people that were like, man, I just did not want to get up today and go to work and do the same thing over and over and over again. And then not only is it the same thing, I really hate it. You
yeah,
know what I
it's like,
mean?
then it's like, why are you working? It's like, well, to make money, I have to. It's like, there's other better ways to make money. Like
Hmm.
everyone has a skill that can be monetized, probably definitely more than a 9 to 5 job will pay. Like once I started realizing leverage is your best friend, not just spending hours on a task. Like it's different for everyone. Like I live in a town called Pomona and it's very working class and like people got to get up at 6 a.m. and there's a lot of immigrants and a lot of people who just aren't from great backgrounds financially.
Hmm.
So like, but luckily I'm from an amazing place in Exeter, New Hampshire, and like my family could afford to send me to California to go to school. So like instead of just like sitting on my ass and just being like, I don't want to be here, but my parents said I have to, I'm going to use the resources that I have to make a better life for me and everyone around me versus like, in my opinion, being selfish and wasting someone's money and time by just half-assing school and stuff. So for me, it just made the most sense. Like I'm given this opportunity of like, I'm not worried. Like if my bank account is empty, my mom will be like, hey, she'll give me $100 to cover groceries. Like if that really had to, like, I don't want to do that, but if that hypothetically, if I was at, rock bottom, I wouldn't even be able to get to rock bottom because my parents wouldn't let me happen. So with that
Hmm.
cushion, I'm like, okay, let me try to do something that benefits everyone around me way more than just like being selfish and doing stuff for myself, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to have a good backing, and like I had a friend in high school who was going to go to college, and his parents were just going to pay for it. Wasn't going to be in debt, and it's like part of me like hated him for it, but part of me is like, you can't blame him for it.
Mhm.
It wasn't his fault. You know what I mean? So like, it's always good to have a good backing when it comes to that. But yeah. So next, I want to get into your YouTube channel. Really interesting content. So let's start, what made you want to? I mean, it seems like the most reoccurring videos, the baseball tours, right? I mean, that's what you post a lot about, but talk about your inspiration behind the channel and content creation.
Yeah. I've been doing YouTube. I mean, if you look at the channel, it'll say like it started in like April 2014. So like that was when I think I was 11. So like I've
Hmm.
been doing the YouTube whatever for a really long time.
Yeah.
What that meant then was like taking videos of my cat and posting it, or like me dunking on a mini basketball hoop and stuff. Then
Yep.
eventually kind of I learned how to do like gaming videos, and I liked watching like Madden Mobile and stuff. So I started doing Madden Mobile, got like a couple thousand subscribers when I was like 14, 15. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Then I just kind of got burnt out, or just didn't want to do it, had other stuff going on as 15-year-olds do. And then
Hmm.
COVID hits, like March 16th, that Monday after the shit hit the fan. And I'm like, what do I do? Like, I got 3 weeks off. Little did we know, but I was like, oh, 3 weeks off. And I was like, oh, let me revive my YouTube channel and start doing baseball stuff, because I was on my road to 90 miles an hour. So that's what I started doing. I just took my Instagram from my Madden Mobile, which had like 300 followers, turned it into Disarm Baseball or whatever. And then YouTube changed just to Disarm. I think it's just what it is today. I think it might have stayed the same. But then I posted like, long toss vlogs and road to 90 and velo day and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And that kind of started slowly building into like the niche community of like pitching development in baseball. Slowly, I did like the game day vlogs. Okay, that's a little broader. Then I did a podcast, which we could do even broader topics. And now I'm trying to hit all things baseball news and culture is like my shtick I've started saying. But yeah, pretty much it's about like tying in the culture of baseball instead of just like, I don't know, being very, I want it to be like more broad, like a baseball fans hub versus like, just a Red Sox fan page. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be like
Hmm.
all things baseball, more hit a broader audience, and hopefully bring people who aren't baseball fans into baseball, and maybe say, hey, look, baseball players, like D1 players, get these dope facilities, and this baseball player has a cool story, and it's more than just like whatever's on the field. I don't know. It's a deep way of me saying that I make YouTube videos and then I do
No, I
TikToks.
mean, there has to be inspiration behind it. The videos don't just appear out of nowhere. There's a lot of work that goes into them. I make some pretty crappy videos on my personal channel, but I try. I'm not good at editing when it comes like you edit these videos, and I'm like, that's really good stuff. I
Thanks,
dread
man.
editing, and I hate it.
Editing fires me up in the weirdest way. Like I just go, I like, when you like are going to the gym and you're like, dude, I don't want to do this today. For me, it's like, I don't want to do this. Then it's like, let me drink some caffeine and just like lock in. And I just gotta like lock in and get the timeline, chop, 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 whatever. And then once you get in the flow of it, it's like fine. But yeah,
Mhm.
editing sucks. Like I think I have like so many videos to edit from Florida, and they're all just on this hard drive right here. It's like 2 terabytes, and it's like almost full of just footage. And I'm like, damn, this is a lot of hours of my time that are going to go into this. But it's the other end's pretty cool when it's like you get people, viewing and subscribing and stuff. So it's worth
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the I think the college tours are really interesting to me, because that's a really interesting opportunity to be able to travel across the country and go to Miami and UConn. And I'm looking at your channel right now, Boston College. So what sort of sparked the idea for you to start doing those videos?
Dude, I always, when I was getting recruited, like when I was 15, or not even getting recruited, when I was looking to play college baseball, I started, everyone did research like UCLA facilities, and it was always like kind of hard to find pictures like on Google, or like definitely not videos. So like that was like kind of planted the seed in my head. Then my buddy and I love like destroying his stuff is super cool, where he does like football facility tours like at like Oregon, UCLA stuff. And I was like, dude, a big person I've looked up at is like, I want to be like destroying, but for baseball. Destroying Donald Delahaye.
I
He's
don't think so.
you'd know
No.
his face. So I'll pull him up real quick. I mean, people listening might know him. Let me do it real quick just to give some context.
What's it?
Destroying. This is him right here. He's got like 5 million subscribers.
Okay.
Football guy. He's done stuff
Yeah.
with NFL, whatever. You'd probably know his face. Anyway, he's great for football culture as a whole. He does like he did a facility tour at Tampa Bay Buccaneers thing with Leonard Fournette. Like that was sick. So he's been kind of an inspiration. So I'm kind of mimicking what he does just in my own spin in baseball, in the baseball world. So that was the big inspiration. Started at San Diego State, San Diego. And once we started building more credibility as like, I'm someone who does this, then it's like been a little easier to work with the ops department and get collab posts and get access and gear and giveaways and stuff. So it's like, now it's like, I'm feeling I'm getting established as someone who does facility tours. If we want to showcase our facility, hopefully they can work with me and we can figure it out. So yeah, it's like a unique opportunity. Like you said, like no one's really done that, and I'm just going to literally do as many as I can and just build hopefully a big foundation of like my target audience, which is like 14 to 20-year-old baseball fans and players, which, you know, they all want to watch that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to keep running with it.
Absolutely. What's the most impressive facility you've been to so far?
Dude, UConn. I think UConn.
Yeah.
UConn was amazing. BC was cool. I think the BC title says like 200 million, but like it wasn't just baseball that was 200 mil. It was like the dome for football and baseball was, and then like the softball part too. UConn was like legit 50 mil just into baseball. So like it was dope, dude. I mean, their facilities were great. Their locker room was good. It wasn't like the best locker room, but like overall, it was probably the one that blew me away the most. I was like excited. I was like giddy, like walking around. I'm like, this is sick. Like I love this. Miami was a big one for me. That was exciting. Not that because their facilities are good. It's like more historic and like a Fenway Park type feel versus like I don't know, Oracle or whatever, like some like historic and worn in, but like cool. And I've been a Miami fan since I was growing up. Like my dad's from Miami, so that was like kind of special for me. And we worked with them really, like we did some collaborative posts and stuff, and their guys were awesome and really down for it. Arizona State was probably one of the nicest too. I kind of wish I could go back there and not refilm it, but like my videos have gotten a lot better in the last like 3 months, just quality wise. And now we know how to make a good video. So like now when we head to schools like Oregon and Vanderbilt and these Texas, these big hitters, like we kind of have the system down and we know how to make a sick video. Before the first like 5 episodes, just figuring out how the format's going to work. But now I think I got it down. Now we just got to run with it. But yeah, UConn, ASU, Miami, probably top 3.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to go to UConn last summer for the team that I coached. And it was an amazing facility, the dugouts, the field, and we were able to go into like where the batting cages were. They might have done a tour. If they did, I wasn't with the team. I doubt that they did because I didn't go into the locker room. But I remember seeing recently a video of somebody on the University of Rhode Island baseball team did a tour of their facility.
Yeah.
And their locker room was like smaller than the dugouts.
I know it sucks, man. It sucks when the schools are kind of behind. Like, and those are schools that are competing against each other. So it's like if you're a kid from Rhode Island and it's like UConn or URI and they're offering you the same package, I think we know where you're going to want to go. Like,
absolutely. And UConn and URI aren't in the same division. I don't think so, but they do scrimmage each other. And I went and watched last year a few of the games, and URI held their own. I mean, there was one game where they got blown away. You know, like one of the kids there was like a grand slam, and you know they got their butt kicked. But like, one of the other games they held their own, and it's all pitching at that level. I mean, it's all pitching.
Yeah, the depth of pitching. That's really what it comes down to. Like a lot of schools can get like a top level arm. It's like 95. I mean, obviously it's going to be different Tennessee versus URI, but like once you get to like your 5, 6, 7 guys in the pen, it's like it's leagues different when you get to those level schools. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you get to like the big leagues level, and I'm curious to hear your opinion on this. Like I definitely would agree that you want to strengthen your offensive lineup over pitching, right? Because pitching already has the edge. You know, like hitting is difficult, even if it's against a lower tier pitcher in the major leagues, it's still difficult to do. So to strengthen an offense in the big leagues, I think it makes a lot more sense. You know what I mean? Than it does to have a great offense in the college level. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, it's also more fun too. Like if I was a GM, I would like go so heavy on hitting just because it's like You want to score runs, you want to sell tickets, you want to hit home runs, you want to have big names who are hitting bombs and going on Sports Center. Pitching's cool. Like it's pitching probably wins games, but like, it's like the whole football thing where it's like offense sells tickets, defense wins games. Like you want to have, or wins Super Bowls or something, but you want to have both, obviously, ideally, but like a GM's job is to like, win games and get fans and seats. So it's like, it's like in basketball when if you had the option to draft like, LaMelo Ball in the top 3 or like, and I forget who the other guy who went 4, but like you want to get LaMelo Ball, maybe they're similar play styles or whatever, but like you're Charlotte Hornets, it's a small market team, you want to sell tickets. Like, so yeah, I think it kind of translates offense. I'm a big offense guy, but like, obviously I'm a pitching fan, but it is what it is. It's the game today.
Yeah. Pitching. I mean, baseball is all about, a mental state and definitely on the hitting side, but pitching isn't easy either. Like it's a huge strain on your body, especially your arm. A lot of people don't realize that. Softball pitching is a more natural motion, right? It's underhand. It's a lot easier. You'll have pitchers in high school that just start every game in softball. Every game. You do not see that.
We had a girl go 17-0 in high school as a pitcher. The team went 17-0. She went 17-0. She hit third, had like 12 dingers. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that does not happen in baseball. If that happens in baseball, the coach is an idiot and the parents are idiots for not taking their kid out because he is never going to pitch another day in their life because their arm would just be absolutely wrecked.
Sometimes I still wake up with like elbow pain and I'm like, damn it. Like, I thought I was done with this, but
I mean, I was lucky. I just played first base. I was okay. I mean, I tried pitching, sucked at it,
You're lucky.
I remember one game way back, when I think it was like my second year with my second AAU team, and my coach just threw me on the bump just to see, and I did good against the first kid. I can't remember what happened, but then the next kid came up and he just hit I mean, we were 14, 15 years old, so like we weren't hitting home runs and we were on the big field, but the kid hit the fence and I was like like, no thanks. A 58 mile an hour changeup over the plate isn't going to do it for me.
Right.
But I'm curious to hear, let's go back to your high school so this extra year of eligibility, was it really a college up in Maine or like explain how that works a little bit?
Yeah, good question. Because people out here, when I started telling them I did a post-grad year, they're like, what does that mean? So in New England, we were more familiar with it. So it's like, there's a lot of really good prep schools, a lot of really good, like Phillips Andover, Phillips Exeter, millions of Milton, so many schools, Tabor, like all those schools in Rhode Island, Connecticut, Mass, New Hampshire, Maine, whatever. So yeah, Bridgeton Academy it's a prep school. We played other prep schools, like we played Andover, we played Exeter, but it's 1 year. So you only go there as a post-grad. So once you graduate high school, you go to the school for 1 year, all athletes, all guys. And it's meant so like you don't use any of your college eligibility. So it's like, in their eyes, like taking a gap year, but really you're developing. A lot of guys use it for academics. We had a lot of kids, from the inner city or whatever, who needed better grades, needed to, get recruited by schools up in Maine because they're from like New York or whatever. It's hard, it's a lot of talent over there. So, we have a great football team. We had a great football team, great basketball team, great baseball team. Football and basketball were really good. Like a lot of Power 5 guys. It's like 200, not even 200 kids up in Bridgeton, Maine, which is like northwest Maine, like 2.5 hours from Exeter. And yeah, it sucked, but like I loved it at the same time. Like we it was like they kind of babysat us a little bit because a lot of the guys are like there because they were not the best students in high school. So like we couldn't leave until Friday afternoon. So like I had my car on campus, but like if I wanted to go into town on a Wednesday, I'd have to call Coach Atwood and be like, Coach, can you drive me to McDonald's? I'm hungry or whatever. And he'd have to figure it out, or we go like do a laundry trip. But I was lucky every Friday afternoon, I would like go back home to Exeter for like 2.5 days and then come back up for Sunday night study hall. So we had study hall every night, big emphasis on academics, big emphasis on developing. It was amazing, man. It's kind of like a JUCO year in a sense, where like guys go JUCO, but it's 1 year, a little different, probably more expensive than JUCO was. And then, yeah, but like overall, I think it was worth it. And, you know, a lot of guys need that extra year. Like you get to reclass to be a 20, whatever, the next younger year. So puts you in a different field. And it was a great experience. I recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all right. So we're going to flip back to the channel, and I was watching your interview with Eric Sim.
Yeah.
Really interesting, you know, situation they got going over there at Momentum. For those of you that don't know, Momentum is sort of like, I mean, you can probably explain it better, but it's a YouTube channel. It's a media company right now focusing on baseball, trying to do the same thing you're doing, trying to get more people involved, trying to make the sport more interesting and more fun for people that are sort of hesitant, because it is a chess match. It's not, you know, fast paced like basketball or football, which I sort of appreciate. You know, to each their own. I like that it's slower and there's more, you know, the steps that you take to win the baseball game aren't just go, go, go. You have to think about it. It's more of a chess match.
100%.
So, and you guys were talking about the current state of baseball, and this is where I disagree slightly with a lot of kids our age. I enjoy the bat flipping. I enjoy the showboating to a certain degree, right? I think that if you're in the middle of June and it's a game that's meaningless and you're showboating against the Kansas City Royals and you're just being a jerk to the other pitcher, like, I think that that's sort of ridiculous, you know what I mean? But in big time games, in the playoffs, in Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, Giants games, things like that, where there's always a lot of weight on the games, even if one team's significantly better than the other, you know, just the fan base. I think there's a place, you know, like when Carlos Correa in the playoffs against the Red Sox in 21 tapped on his watch and said, it's my time sort of thing. I hate Carlos Correa, but
Yeah.
I think that was great. I mean, it was
pretty
fun
dope.
to watch. It was. And like, I want to hear your take on that. You know, that's sort of what I think, but let's hear what you think. Cause you guys were very much in, so not really the other end, but, you know, different opinion.
Yeah. I mean, Sim is he just like doesn't care. Like he's just like, whatever, you know, we all know Eric Sim, or if you're in baseball world, you know who he is.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. I go back and forth because it's like, you don't ever want people to get into like fights in hockey or baseball or football, but when they do, they make national headlines and people are talking about it for 2-3 days and a little uptick. So, you know, it's like pros and cons to that. What you really want to do is like, I think, build a stronger culture. So it's like in soccer, in Europe and in South America, it's like those games are like kind of boring from an outside perspective. Like they're 2-3 goals, you know, but when they happen, it's big time moments and people are getting fired up and whatever. So baseball is similar. Like baseball is slow and it takes a while to develop, but when it does, it should be like boom, 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 let's go. We did it. Like whatever. It's an exciting moment. So I think, you know, I think more celebration should be encouraged. In the sense where it's like it builds culture within and more excitement within the fan base, right? So it's like if our players pumped up that he, you know, took a go ahead home run in the 6th inning and it's a good pitcher or whatever, and he wants to get fired up, it's like, oh, then it kind of gives the fans permission to get fired up in my eyes. Whereas if it's like they're telling him like, dude, you can't bat flip, like you know, it's a meaningless game, which I totally get that side, but at the same time, it kind of tells the fan base to kind of stand down, like, oh, this game doesn't really matter, we shouldn't really care. Whereas like I think the fans mimic the players' reactions in the best way. It's like if a player hits a home run, he goes crazy, the fans are going to get fired up. Player hits a home run, he's pretty, you know, it's there's levels to it, you know. Like I said, pros and cons. I don't think that there's a systemic or like I don't think there's a problem with like the rules. Like I don't think the pitch clock is going to do much. I really don't. I think there's more of a cultural problem. Like there's a reason baseball was insanely fun in the 90s without a pitch clock, right? Because like, look, maybe it'll help make kids have shorter attention spans, but it's like kids were still kids in the 90s, and like kids had other things, other priorities, other things I wanted to focus on. I'm all for trying new things. Like, let's see if a juiced ball works. Let's see if a pitch clock works. But it's like, if we can get some like quantitative data and be like, oh, this was better for baseball, boom, let's do it. But for me, it's more like, how do we build a stronger culture within fan bases, and how do we get more excitement in those meaningless games? Because like that's like 90% of the season is meaningless games. So I don't know. It's a tough topic. I don't know.
Yeah. No. So all right. So you touched on a couple points there. So all right, if there is, all right, you can bat flip whenever you want, right? Let's say that. All right. I don't know in hockey, like do players get suspended just for, because there's fights all the time, right? Hockey players, they don't really get suspended for games, right? When they get in fights.
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on the severity. I think like they have the penalty box, which in and of itself is like kind of sick. Like,
but it's during the game, right? It's not like,
I don't know.
It's not like they get suspended X amount of games after.
That's like an experiential thing during the game. Like, oh, they're getting a fight, no one's in the penalty box. The other team's fans are like knocking on the glass, chirping them.
Right.
That's sick to me. Hockey has an amazing culture.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not for baseball. Baseball has like a broad audience. Like a lot of people are familiar with baseball. Hockey's smaller, but way stronger. The culture is like so strong in every fan base. Like even like Tampa Bay. Like you don't think of Tampa Bay, Florida as a place that has a strong hockey culture. They're one of the best fan bases. So I don't know. It's tough. I don't know.
Yeah. So my point is like, all right, if you're gonna bat flip, retaliation should be allowed, right?
Agree.
And players shouldn't get suspended. If you bat flip after you hit a home run, and then the next at bat you come up and you get beamed in the ribs, the pitcher shouldn't get ejected, and like I think they should be able to retaliate, to a certain extent. If everybody's getting hit, everybody's getting pissed, and things are happening, then players should get ejected. But if you're gonna say you can bat flip whenever, it goes both ways. I think it's equally as insulting. Obviously, you're getting a ball hurled at you, and you might get a bruise in the ribs, But like if they're starting to throw at your head or something, that's wrong, and that's where it gets life threatening, But like, and then when we talk about the pitch clocks, right? Baseball, theoretically and actually is a timeless sport. It's been around for, I don't know when the bigs were created, late 1800s, right? And there's no clock. Football, soccer, hockey, every other sport except for baseball and softball have a clock, and it's timed. You've seen baseball games go 18 innings, like in the World Series with the Red Sox and the Dodgers in 2018, right? And they went on forever. And I think that's a pretty great characteristic about the sport, is that it's not timed.
That was sick to me. It's like tennis, dude.
Yeah.
It's going to like 3 a.m. and it's
exactly. And I hate the idea of a pitch clock. I think it takes a lot of the sort of mental game between the pitcher and the hitter out, right? So, I mean, you pitched, right? And I hit. Part of the system is like, trying to mess up the pitcher getting into a groove, right? Taking your time as a batter. Like that's huge. Sure, it slows the game down, but when you're playing the game, like that's a huge strategy, right? And I think it disadvantages the hitters more than anything, because it will allow, I mean, when pitchers start to go and then is there a penalty on the batter if they're not ready? I don't know about that. You know what I mean? So like, if they're not getting in the batter's box, like what? Because this is where the rules, like these new rules getting introduced. You know what I mean? Starts to get ridiculous.
I think it's also a cultural thing with baseball where it's like players are more like, I think are taking first pitch strikes more nowadays. They're going deeper into at bats because they know like that actually gives them an advantage to run a pitcher's pitch count up, take it deeper into at bats. Like you're never going to see a pitcher like Greg Maddux who had that 76 pitch whatever complete game. That's never going to happen again, because like hitters aren't going to let that happen. They're going to try to run deep into counts and not
see more pitches. So like that makes baseball longer. So I think maybe it's cutting into the TV timeouts, and maybe it's like cutting 30 seconds off every time. I don't know what it is, but like I think it just comes down to like I think a baseball game could be 3.5 hours and still be pretty lit. Like if it's a cool ending, if we make it a special game, like almost everyone at the Dodgers Red Sox game stayed to the end of an 18-minute. Well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people were engaged with that game more so than a meaningless regular season game because the stakes were higher. It was more on the line. I was up till 2:30.
I watched the whole
That-
game. Yeah.
I went to bed at the 16th inning because I had to get up to go to work in the morning, and I was pissed. I'm like, 2 more innings. I was pissed. And that, like, what Nathan Eovaldi did, I mean, I'm assuming you're a Red Sox fan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like what Nathan Eovaldi did that game was incredible. And a lot of people forget about, I mean, on the Dodgers side, Walker Buehler's performance, it sort of overshadows like just the length of the game or overshadows like how good he was. Like that was just an overall, like you saw everything in that game. You saw really good pitching, you saw great ABs, you saw errors in the field, and Ian Kinsler throwing that ball away, which allowed the Dodgers, Yasiel Puig, to score, or he hit the ground ball or something, and he was acting like it was the greatest thing ever when he just hit a dribbler to second base, and you know what I mean? But yeah, that was a legendary game. I definitely won't forget that game. And then there was another game I went to at Fenway Park of Red Sox Yankees. And it was Herman. What was the guy's first name? Like Domingo Herman. He's a pitcher on the Yankees, right? And he had those sort of iffy things going on, and he had just came back, and he had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning. This was 2021 during the summer, and it was in July. And then the Red Sox ended up coming back to win the game. They were losing like 4-0, and they were getting no hit into the 7th inning. And I had brought my friend who like hated baseball. He only wanted to go, and if he ever listens to this podcast, and I highly doubt it, he just wanted to go because this girl that he liked really loved baseball. And he's like, oh, I got to take her to a Fenway game, Max. You got to help me out. And I'm like, all right, man, let's do it. Let's go. And then the girl ended up not even going. And then he was just mad the whole game. But he's like, you know what? I actually really enjoyed that. You know, we were sitting in the bleachers in Fenway. You had the drunk Irish guy screaming and yelling in the stands, saying stuff, and we're right near the bullpen, and it was just like a great experience, you know. Yeah, so I want to get, all right, let's get back to you and your story and whatnot. But I want to talk about sort of your goals for your social media channel, and like, what's your goal in 2023? What do you want to accomplish by the end of this year?
Yeah, my thing is I want to be the biggest creator in baseball. So like that's kind of a broad term, but it's like that's just kind of my North Star, maybe. I don't know if I'd call it that, but that's just kind of like what I'm, if I had a saying, see, my apartment's very empty, but if I had a saying on the wall, like it would say biggest creator in baseball, something like that, to see every day, know what I'm working towards. But more like quantitatively, I don't know. I don't really do like actual objective, really like number goals anymore. Like it's, if I could say, oh, I want to hit 100,000 subscribers this year, but it's like that's not really specific. Like it's very specific, but it's like, what am I going to do today to lead to 100,000 subscribers? So like I think it's good to have like those, you know, a lot of things I've learned from talking to like really cool, successful people is like they are more worried about like their day-to-day, week-to-week than their year-to-year, because like you've heard the saying where it's like people underestimate, or they overestimate what they could do in 6 months, but underestimate what they could do in 6 years or whatever. So, you know, that's kind of my idea, where it's like, I just want to post 2 really high quality YouTube videos every week, do clips every day, or pretty much every day. And then just make each video better than the last, and like better idea, better quality, whatever that means. And then just keep scaling up from there, and do some cool, like innovative stuff in baseball that people didn't even know that was like I don't know why no one ever thought of doing D1 facility tours. If someone did that, I would have been all over it watching it like 2-3 years ago. So hopefully I can keep doing cool stuff like that, but bigger and better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk about sort of the process in building your channel. You know, obviously you said you were just a college kid that moved out to LA, and then you ended up getting in contact with Eric Sim and Momentum, and standing right next to Trevor Bauer, which is amazing. He went through a lot. He is still my favorite pitcher in the major leagues. You know, what he went through was unfair, and what the major leagues did to him was unfair. And if anybody wants to call me out on that, go right ahead. You know, like I bought his merch and I still wear it. And I love his content and what he's doing for the game as well. But how did you sort of get to that point in your YouTube career, where you were able to contact these people and set something up and go to tour their facility?
Yeah, I'm big on like building a really strong network and like just making
Mm-hmm.
friends with people and just like learning. I like asking questions and hey, what do you do? Oh, you're friends with him. That's cool. I know him. Whatever. Finding connections. Baseball is like very, baseball is a very small world once you get down to it and like meet someone like, oh, you know him. You're from there. Whatever. So yeah, I just made like some connections and eventually Sim may have saw my content or something. I don't remember exactly how it came about, but I remember I was super nervous to go in there. I was like, man, then I ripped some smelling salts and like I literally thought I got punched in the mouth. It like actually hurt. It was just like it was my first time ever doing salts. I've never been a salts guy, and I went way too deep on it. But that kind of woke me up, and I was like, all right, well, whatever. It's like I'm just trying not to die right now. So that kind of was cool. And that was cool. I did a podcast with him. The clips did really well. It was a great learning experience. I didn't meet Trevor then, but I met Trevor the next month. I've been down there like 3 times. I'm a big fan of Tosh and Cole. They do really awesome stuff down there. President and then
Mm-hmm.
Cole as a content creator down there. Yeah, dude, what they're doing for baseball is like innovative. I think innovative is the best way to put it. Where it's like they're doing more like the gamification and like like the Mr. Beast style stuff, or like making baseball the game look cool. And that's so dope. And like for me, it's more like showing the culture of baseball is really cool. So like we go like hand in hand making content, I think, and we have very similar fan bases, and they're obviously way bigger. But I mean, I look up to them to kind of mimic what I can do, and the kind of barriers that they broke through. I think I can go through those too because of them. So they're awesome, man. They're really cool people, and yeah, I think it's what they're doing is awesome.
So would you say what you're trying to build in your channel as well is similar to what they're doing, or how do you plan on and how do you plan on differentiating yourself sort of from them as well to sort of have original content, if you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, my thing is, I don't know. My thing is more like I look at myself as like a host or like someone who's gonna like be the bridge between the viewer and the experience or whatever, like the
Yeah.
person I'm talking to or the place that I'm at or the event that I host. I did like a home run derby, the event. Like I want to be like the bridge between that.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that like Sim is more like he is the experience, he's the thing. What he's doing is the event, and so that's like it differs, and it's also there's a lot of opportunities for collaboration. So like that's super cool, and if someone like works with them and like is down to make content, I know that I could probably work with them too, and they're probably totally on board with like wanting to make some content with me. So like I talk to Sim, I talk to Tosh and Cole all the time, bouncing ideas. We're all just going towards the same goal. So like it's going to be exciting to see where we're all at in like 3 to 5 years when stuff hopefully takes off even more.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the biggest thing you learned from sort of being around them and touring the Momentum facility? Like when you walked away from that, what did you learn and said, all right, this is what I'm going to do to help improve my content?
Yeah, I mean, a big thing for me was I was just like very motivated and very like,
Yeah.
oh, they did it. Like they started from whatever they started from. I'm no different from them at 20 years old. Like whatever. Like they were just very, very positive and very supportive of like what I'm doing and like what my goals were. And they're like, no, you can do it. You're definitely going to do it. Just keep working, keep going. So for me, it was more like, oh, this is sweet. Like maybe I can belong in this world and do that stuff. And then now it's like they're kind of shifted more to like peers and people that I can talk to and ask for advice on different things. And there's not many people in the content space in general, like people who you can, especially baseball content. So it's like to have that double where it's like they're full-time content people and full-time baseball content people. Like they're, one of my first people I'll go to call if I have something come up that I need to ask about or need a connection or whatever. So yeah, the biggest thing I learned though was like having that community is really important. Building those people around you to help push your vision forward is important. You can't do it solo. Sim doesn't do it solo. He does a lot of work. He works very hard, but like his people around him push him to even the next level. So like I'm trying to do the same thing with me and my little team. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, man, it's been great talking to you because I hear a lot about, the older generations talking crap about kids our age.
Mhm.
And while it's a fact that there's a lot of people that don't want to work that are in their early 20s, and it was great talking to you and hearing you talk about your channel and your visions, and I can relate to a lot of it. But yeah, very smart for 20 years old. I can tell. I think you're going to be very successful. So thank you very much. I mean, I've had a great conversation with you.
Dude, thanks. I love seeing people our age like being entrepreneurs and doing stuff and kind of,
Yeah.
morphing their life into what they choose instead of just going with the flow and letting the stream take them. You're kind of swimming against the current, like that's what you're doing. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
admire that, and that's what I'd like to think I do the same. So, dude, if you need anything, let me know. Hit me up. We're in this very similar world, so like, you need to connect. If you need idea, if you need whatever, let me know. You have my email. I can give you my number too. So just hit me up, dude. Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. So we're not done yet. I have one final question for you.
Let's go.
And since you are younger than me, I'm very curious to hear your answer to this question. If you were to leave one piece of advice to the listeners, what would that piece of advice be? It could be about, your channel, business, life, whatever you want it to be. What would it, be?
My thing is it's two things. It's like, you can do it, like genuinely, like not just like you can do it, but it's like I was a 16-year-old kid who wanted to make a following on YouTube, and like I was actually that kid who wanted to like watch. I was watching these people and like, man, I want to do that. Oh, it's so far away. It's not that far away if you just like keep working, keep putting your foot in front of the next, and learning every single day, and like just having that obsession with like getting better and being hyper focused on like, okay, this is what I want. This is how I'm going to get better at it, or how maybe you don't even know how to get better at it, but you're just going to try new things every day. It's just, I see a lot of people who are our age who are like motivated until things get a little hard. And then they kind of go right back to like, I'm just going to stick in school. Oh, my parents want me to do this. I'm going to do this. Oh, my job as a electrician is whatever. It's fine. I don't like that. Like, fine. If you love what you're doing, if you like what you're doing, that's great. But I strive to like love what I'm doing and like be really excited about what I'm doing. So it's like, yeah, going to school offers great opportunities, and being in college is awesome for some people. But for me personally, it's more just like, I need to be around other people who are like-minded, and it's a small group, but it's like a very strong group. And I just keep trying to learn and talk to people like you every day, and just like keep working at whatever you want to do. Just like, don't stop. Like, just having that continuous iteration, I guess, is like, just keep doing it over and over again. Naturally, you're just going to get a lot better. So yeah, that might have just been me rambling, but yeah, that's my advice.
No way. I totally agree. And as one of my business idols, Steve Jobs, said, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Right. Yep. So absolutely. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Like I said, been a great conversation. And for all of you that want to get content weeks in advance, you can subscribe on Patreon, right? For as little as $3 a month. This episode's being posted in a few weeks. It's being recorded on 1-26. I think it'll be posted the second or third week of February, trying to build up content. So for those of you that not only want to get early access to content, but want to support the podcast as well, go subscribe on Patreon. Make sure to follow on Instagram as well. And I will put Dan's YouTube channel in the description of the podcast. So definitely go check it out. A lot of great content over there, especially if you love baseball. And like I said earlier, just from an editing aspect, a lot of great stuff in there. So thanks again, Dan, for coming on.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I love it. You're a great host. You got like, sometimes it takes me multiple tries to be like, all right, guys, today we're at this, and I'll stutter and I'll be like, God, I got to restart. And like, there's someone in front of me I'm talking to, and I'm like, damn. But you're great, dude. Keep it up. Let me know if you need anything, for real.
Thanks. We'll do. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you in the next one.